What's the secret to causing obsession if I'm not someone who physically fits current standards? In other words, people don't look at me and go, wow. It's actually more the opposite. Even at first glance, I come across as not very attractive. So how can I do it? Because there are people who, without being conventionally attractive, cause that kind of obsession in others, to the point that even when they have the chance to be with people who are supposedly objectively far more attractive, far more blessed, others will do everything they can to be with them instead. And they become a kind of enigma to everyone else. It's like, what do they do? What do they have? Well, I'm going to tell you. First, we obviously need to make a distinction. And that's why I titled this video Obsession. Because falling in love isn't tied, not exclusively, but very loosely, to looks. Looks are like a shop window. If you're very good looking, of course you'll attract more people at first. But after that, many other factors come into play. Especially in everyday environments where there's regular contact and we get the chance to know someone a little better who maybe didn't catch our eye right away, that's when feelings can develop. So someone who isn't physically attractive can, over time, start looking more and more beautiful to me. And if we connect emotionally and have a lot in common, why wouldn't I fall for them? In other words, you can have a couple where one partner is, in theory, less attractive, and that person can be very much in love, and they can be a very happy couple, and there's no trick, no scheme, nothing shady about it, simply a strong compatibility. They're two people who have a lot in common, who understand each other well, and at some point it's like, this person has won me over, and now, in my eyes, they seem beautiful. So it's not always the case that if you're not gorgeous, no one can fall for you. Of course people can fall in love with you, because there are many more factors at play. But I wanted to title this video Obsession on purpose, because there are also people who use manipulation, let's call them dirty tricks, to achieve that. People who aren't physically attractive, but who manage to get physically attractive people to choose them, and even prefer them, over others who, at first glance, would have caught their attention more. It's based on a two-part strategy. The first part is understanding that how I make you feel when you're with me matters enormously. And the second part is that I don't give you access. In other words, these people know that when you first meet them, they flatter you a lot. They focus intensely on you. If we're having a conversation, I'll make a big effort to make sure you shine. I make you the center of attention, only at the beginning, only at the start of the connection. I not only make you the total protagonist of the interaction, but I make you feel extremely important when you're with me. I flatter you so much that you start to feel physically attractive, intelligent, eloquent, maybe even funny. You're not especially funny, but you tell me a joke that isn't remotely funny, and I'll laugh way harder than it deserves. These people aren't afraid to go over the top when it comes to making you feel special. So what happens at the start? Even if someone doesn't physically appeal to me, being around them makes me feel really good because they help me see qualities in myself that I don't usually feel I have. We need to keep one thing in mind. This happens a lot even in cases of infidelity. Couples who've been together for years and one of them starts looking elsewhere, and people say things like, they went looking outside for what they weren't getting inside. And it's often blamed on the partner not putting in the same effort as day one. Nobody keeps up day one effort forever. But the justification for the infidelity usually sounds like, when I first met this person, they left me little notes around the house, we made love every day, they brought me flowers once a week, we went out for dinner, and now none of that happens. And yes, we naturally relax over time, but it takes two. It's like, well, what were you doing for your partner at the beginning? Are you still doing all the same things? It's not only this other person who let things slide, but of course, we look for that justification. This person neglected me, so I went looking outside for what I wasn't getting at home. In a lot of cases, though, what's really happening is that beyond both of you relaxing together, once you're no longer in courting mode, in impress them mode, you personally let yourself go. You stop putting in that same effort for yourself. And often what you're craving is becoming that version of yourself again, the one who tries hard, who's just starting something, who's with someone new. Sometimes what you want isn't so much someone different from your partner, it's a different version of yourself. A version that gets excited again, that goes back to the gym, that takes care of their clothes, their cologne, their appearance, genuinely. It's that urge to be a version of yourself that pays more attention to itself, that pampers itself more. Psychologically, this is hard to admit, but it's true. We desire ourselves. So, going back to the earlier point, I got a little sidetracked, but it's to help you understand just how much weight our own self-image carries. When you meet someone who doesn't appeal to you physically, but who makes you feel, when you're with them, something other people don't make you feel. Like my joke example. Nobody laughs at my jokes, and suddenly with this person, I feel funny. I feel eloquent because they listen to me, they lean into the conversation, they ask me questions, and while I'm talking, they nod along and say those nice things that make me feel really good about myself. They give me their full attention, they admire me, and I feel admired by them. I crave more of that, not so much more of the person, but more of how I feel when I'm with them. It's not so much, oh, I can't wait to see so-and-so because I want to know more about them. That's more what happens when someone appeals to us physically. We see them and want to spend time with them because we want to know more about them. We want to observe them. But when it's someone who doesn't catch our eye physically but knows how to make us feel good, what we want more of is that feeling of being glad to see them. We want more of that reflection we see of ourselves, that feedback we get from them that makes us want more. So in the end, it doesn't matter whether the hook is, I want more of you, or I want more of myself when I'm with you. Either way, it comes down to wanting more. And this is where the second part of the strategy comes in. Because sometimes, physically attractive people who hook us in also get hooked themselves. We want more, they want more, but sometimes they give us so much and start wanting so much that the appeal wears off. We start getting used to it. We feel like we have total access, and sometimes it turns into a novelty effect. When the person had an air of mystery we didn't have access to, we were enchanted. But now that we have full access, they no longer seem so special. This doesn't hold up over time. We wanted more, but we got more, and suddenly we don't want it as much anymore. The strategy of someone who knows how to use these dirty tricks to hook us, though, is different. The moment they realize we want more, the moment they notice that all that flattery, that constant presence is working, that we're starting to show more initiative, seeking them out more, they pull back. It's like, oh, you want more? Okay, now that I see you want more, I'm going to start giving you less. And this catches you completely off guard. Why? Because since you know this person isn't the most physically attractive, and at the start they gave you everything without holding back, you assumed they were an easy target. That if you ever showed interest, they'd give you everything, no problem, like, sure, fine, I'll go on a date with you, you've won. But suddenly, it turns out that the person who was, in theory, the one who'd won, is now the one denying you a follow-up meeting. Suddenly, they're no longer showering you with attention. The moment they realize you crave that attention, they start cutting it back. And you don't understand it, and it throws you completely, because you assumed this person would be thrilled just to have access to you. And now it turns out they're not thrilled at all. Instead, they're the one restricting your access, no longer laughing as hard at your jokes. But you want them to. You want to keep enjoying that admiration, and suddenly they're the one pulling back and not understanding it. Plus, having underestimated them makes you go all in even more. In other words, at the beginning, you were simply letting yourself be adored, letting yourself be flattered, just receiving, receiving, receiving. But then you started giving. And now, the moment you start giving, you receive less. So what do? You give a bit more and receive less, and give a bit more, and that's how they completely flip the situation, turning it 180 degrees. Because before you even realize it, in a way you never saw coming, you're craving this person intensely, while they've pulled way back. And it's this person who denies you the relationship, who denies you commitment. If we're talking about someone even more calculating, a kind of triangulation can start happening. They let you know there are other people around, which on day one would have seemed absurd to you. Like, you're going to have 100,000 suitors, sure, look at you. But by the point you're at now, it no longer seems absurd. Why? Because by then you already see this person completely differently, physically. You no longer care that your friends keep reminding you, but you've seen them, they're not attractive at all. It doesn't matter. You don't see them that way anymore. In fact, there's a part of you that even thinks, thank goodness other people see them as unattractive. Hopefully that keeps others away. Because to you, they're everything. You're completely enchanted, because this really does happen, exactly like this. And then, when people start telling you there are other people involved, you feel deeply insecure. You're in a constant state of competition where, again, you want to be with this person, you put in effort, and even if, as we said before, opportunities come up with people who are, in theory, more physically attractive, you don't care. You already want to be with this specific person. So as you can see, this strategy is based on, from the start, being fully aware that you're not asking for anything. In other words, at first, I genuinely ask for nothing. I give, trusting that you'll like who you become when you're with me so much that you'll want more of yourself. More of that version of you I show you, feeling so attractive, so intelligent, so eloquent, so funny, so special, that at some point you'll end up showing me that you like me, starting to show a little interest in me too. And the moment that happens, instead of me going crazy with love the way you'd expect, because these are people with a lot of emotional control, they don't show it, but they have it. That's exactly when you underestimate them. Because since they gave you so much, you assume it's because they're deeply, madly in love with you. But usually, they're not. And then, when you start giving and expect to be rewarded with even more in return, that's exactly when, instead of giving you more, they start giving you less. So in the end, it all comes down to flattery and lack of access. That's the strategy behind why so many people who aren't physically attractive create genuine pathological obsession in people who, in theory, are worth so much more physically. There you have it. That's the explanation. Well, I hope this video is useful to you, informationally, as something to keep in mind, and psychologically. If you liked it and you're not subscribed to the channel yet, I invite you to do so and hit the little bell because I'd love for us to see each other again very soon. That's it. As always, sending you a big kiss.